Hey there, ready to dive into some seriously ancient mysteries.
I'm ready when you are.
Today, we're cracking open the Book of Enoch,
Oh, okay.
chapter 21 through 41. Specifically,
Okay.
you might not have heard of it, it's not exactly mainstream reading, but this book, it's absolutely packed with these wild visions and prophecies,
The trip, yeah.
angels, giants, and just a whole different way of looking at the world and the cosmos and everything.
Yeah, it's a journey through a cosmology you won't find in your typical religious text.
Right.
And these chapters in particular, they delve into some pretty heavy bath.
Oh, yeah.
Judgment, the afterlife, humanity's ultimate fate, all that good stuff.
Okay, so we're talking hidden knowledge, the cosmos, and the fate of humanity.
That's right.
Count me in. Let's unpack this.
Sounds good.
Chapter 21, it kicks things off with a vision of a desolate place.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
what's going on there?
Imagine a vast emptiness,
Okay.
with 7 fallen stars imprisoned, burning like mountains of fire.
What?
It's not your typical picture of heaven, is it?
Definitely not the fluffy clouds and harp music I was expecting. Fallen stars, though. What's the deal with that?
Right.
Are we talking literal stars?
Yeah.
Or is there like a deeper meaning here?
It's one of those details that just makes you really think, right?
Hmm.
Some scholars see it as a symbol of cosmic upheaval, like things are out of balance.
I see.
But what's interesting is that it sets the stage for this journey Enoch takes to the west,
Okay.
where he encounters a fiery river and a chasm
Uh-huh.
that leads down to Sheol.
Sheol. Now, isn't that the ancient Hebrew underworld?
That's it.
So it's like the waiting room for souls before judgment, right?
That's the idea. Not quite hellfire and brimstone, but definitely not a place you'd want to hang out in.
No, I wouldn't think so.
And the starkness, it really hits home when you contrast it with the visions in chapters 23 through 27.
Okay, how so?
Well, Enoch is taken to this lush mountainous paradise
Okay.
with fragrant trees and a special tree of life.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like the ancient world's version of a luxury spa.
Okay, now that's more like it.
Right,
But who gets to enjoy this heavenly spa?
right.
Is it everyone?
Well, that's
Or is there like a VIP list?
where the idea of judgment comes in.
I see.
This paradise, it seems to be reserved for the righteous. Those who've lived a good life.
So are you saying that there's like a...
It's a
so
stark
tech-
separation. It's a stark contrast to the fate of the wicked who are left in Sheol.
So good deeds get you a spot in paradise, while bad deeds land you in, I guess, cosmic purgatory?
Something like that.
It makes you think twice about your choices, that's for sure.
It does.
But Enoch's journey doesn't end there, does it?
It does not.
What happens next?
Well, chapters 28 through 33, they take kind of a fascinating turn.
Okay.
Instead of focusing on the afterlife, we shift to Enoch's observations of the natural world.
Oh, interesting.
He explores the earth, guided by angels who reveal these secrets of the winds, the waters, the heavens.
So it's like a crash course in ancient science,
Yeah,
but taught by angel.
taught by angels.
Sign me up for that class.
Right.
What kind of things did he learn?
Well, he discovers that the winds are stored in these celestial repositories,
Uh-huh.
and they're released at God's command.
Oh, wow.
He witnesses this intricate dance of the stars, each moving according to a precise celestial choreography.
That's wild.
It's a completely different way of looking at the world around us.
Right.
Even like the weather.
That's incredible. So even in like the everyday workings of the world, there's this reminder of a much bigger system at play, right?
Yes.
Something we might not fully understand.
Exactly.
But let's get back to judgment.
Okay.
How does the Book of Enoch, how does it flesh out that idea?
Well, things get really interesting in chapters 34 through 36.
Okay.
This is where we're introduced to the heavenly tablets.
Heavenly tablets.
Imagine cosmic records that document the course of history,
Okay.
including every single human deed. It's almost like a big brother in the sky, just watching and recording everything you do.
Talk about accountability. So basically every action is being judged.
That's what it sounds like.
That's a lot of pressure. But what about free will?
Right.
If everything is recorded, is our destiny predetermined?
Those are some seriously big questions, and the
Mhm.
Book of Enoch definitely makes you think about them.
Yeah.
This concept of predestination, that idea that our fate might be decided beforehand, it's been debated for centuries.
It's definitely mind-blowing. Okay, so we've got like a record of our actions.
Yes.
But where does the actual judging happen?
Well, in chapters 37 through 41, Enoch has this vision of a book containing the names of the righteous, the elect.
Oh.
It's like a VIP list for the afterlife.
So there's a cosmic VIP list.
There you go.
And if your name is not on it, well, things might not be so great. But what about everyone else?
Right.
What happens to them?
That's where things get a little murky. The Book of Enoch doesn't explicitly state what happens to those not chosen, but it does emphasize the contrast between the righteous and the wicked, their fates in the afterlife.
Okay, so we're left with a cliffhanger.
Kind of.
Not fair. But you know what? It makes sense. It's a pretty profound question, one that humanity has been grappling with for ages.
Exactly, and that's what makes exploring these ancient texts so fascinating. They force us to confront these big questions about life, death, and the choices we make along the way.
I'm definitely feeling those big questions right now. But hey, isn't Enoch supposed to be guided by angel on this whole journey? What's their role in all of this?
You're absolutely right. Throughout these chapters, Enoch isn't wandering alone. He's constantly accompanied by angels, particularly Uriel,
Okay.
who explain the meaning of these wild visions. It's like having a personal guide through the mysteries of the cosmos.
I can only imagine how helpful that would be. It's like having a cosmic translator for all of this otherworldly stuff. Speaking of otherworldly stuff, can we talk about the imagery in Enoch's descriptions? I mean, it's pretty intense. Mountains of fire, rivers of flame, trees with this incredible fragrance.
I know, that's what makes this text so captivating. It's not just abstract concepts, right?
Hmm.
These vivid details really bring the visions to life.
Yeah.
For example, in chapter 22, Enoch describes peering into this fiery chasm, this abyss in the earth. You can practically feel the heat and terror as he describes it.
Okay, now I'm getting chills. But all this talk of judgment and punishment and a chosen few, it raises some pretty big ethical questions, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The Book of Enoch touches on some very weighty issues that are still relevant today.
Like what?
This idea of divine punishment for the wicked, whether our choices are truly our own, and salvation for a select group. I mean, it's enough to spark a debate even among the angels.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm feeling like I need another deep dive just to process all of this, but I guess that's what makes these ancient texts so intriguing. They challenge our assumptions and push us to think in new ways.
You hit the nail on the head, and that's just scratching the surface. There are layers upon layers of meaning to unpack in the Book of Enoch.
Well, I'm ready to keep unpacking. We've explored the afterlife, but what about life here and now?
Okay.
What insights does the Book of Enoch offer about our earthly existence?
That's a great question. And it brings us to another fascinating aspect of the text. Remember that mountain paradise Enoch visits?
Yeah, the luxury spa.
Well, it's not just a glimpse of the afterlife, right?
Okay.
It's also a place where he learns the secrets of the natural world.
Oh, really?
It's like a cosmic classroom in a heavenly garden.
Okay, so it's a school with really good landscaping. I like it. What kind of secrets are we talking about?
Think ancient cosmology meets meteorology. In chapters 28 through 33, Enoch learns about the courses of the stars, the sources of the winds, the mysteries of the waters. It's like an ancient version of a National Geographic special, narrated by angels.
Now, that's a show I would binge watch. So Enoch gets this VIP tour of the universe, learning about everything from the heavens to the depths of the earth. That's pretty cool.
It is, and what's fascinating is how these chapters blend scientific observation with this deep sense of divine order. Remember how he learned that the winds are stored and released at God's command?
Mm-hmm.
It's like even the weather is part of this grand design.
I'm starting to see why those ancient people were so in tune with nature. They saw the hand of a higher power in everything, even the wind and the rain. But let's be real, how much of this ancient cosmology lines up with what we know today? We've come a long way from the idea of celestial wind repositories.
Of course, our scientific understanding has evolved dramatically since the time of the Book of Enoch, but that doesn't make these texts any less valuable.
Okay?
In fact, it makes them even more intriguing.
How so? Why should we care about these outdated ideas?
Because they offer us a window into the past, a glimpse into how people in ancient times tried to make sense of the world around them.
I see.
They observed the same stars, the same natural forces that we do, but they interpreted them through a very different lens.
Okay?
And by understanding their perspective, we gain a deeper appreciation for the evolution of human thought. It's like tracing the roots of our own quest to understand the universe.
That's a really good point. It's like we're looking at the universe through the eyes of our ancestors, trying to see the world as they did. But okay, enough stargazing for now. Let's get back to the Book of Enoch. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's one key element we haven't really touched on yet, sin.
Oh, right.
Where does that fit into all of this?
Ah, Sim, the age-old human struggle. You're right, it plays a major role in the Book of Enoch, particularly in these chapters. Remember those fallen stars imprisoned in that desolate void?
Yeah,
They actually represent fallen angels.
fallen angels. Now we're talking. I knew there had to be a good story behind that. What exactly did they do to get themselves in so much trouble?
Well, according to the Book of Enoch, these angels, also known as watchers, disobeyed God's command and came down to earth. They took human wives and had children, giving rise to a race of giants.
Hold on. Angels marrying humans Giants roaming the earth.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound less like an ancient text and more like a fantasy novel.
It does, doesn't it? But these stories were taken very seriously in ancient times.
Okay.
And in the Book of Enoch, they're presented as the root of sin and corruption in the world.
Oh, wow.
These giants in particular are portrayed as destructive beings who wreaked havoc on humanity.
So it's like the original sin,
Yeah,
but with a supernatural twist.
exactly.
The consequences must have been pretty severe.
Oh, absolutely. The text suggests that their actions polluted the human lineage, corrupting the very nature of humankind.
Well,
It's like this cosmic domino effect with their disobedience rippling through generations.
okay, so we've got fallen angels, lustful giants, and a whole lot of cosmic drama unfolding. But how does humanity respond to all of this?
Right.
Do they just stand by and watch the world fall apart?
Not exactly. According to the Book of Enoch, the cries of the oppressed reach God, who unleashes a series of judgments culminating in the Great Flood. You know, the one Noah and his ark famously survived.
Ah, the flood.
Yes.
Now it all starts to come together. So the flood isn't just a random act of divine wrath.
Right.
It's a direct consequence of humanity's sins.
Exactly.
Sins instigated by those fallen angels and their giant offspring. It's like a cosmic cleanup crew, wiping the slate clean.
That's the narrative the Book of Enoch presents, and it reinforces this idea of divine judgment for sin, a recurring theme throughout the text. It's a reminder that our actions have consequences, both in this life and the next.
That's a pretty sobering thought. It's like the ancient version of karma, but with much higher stakes.
Exactly. And this brings us back to that concept of the chosen few, the elect, who will be spared from judgment and granted eternal life in a new heaven and a new earth.
Okay, the chosen few. You mean like those whose names are written in that book Enoch sees in his vision.
That's right.
But what about everyone else? What happens to the people who don't make the cut?
Well, that's where things get a little ambiguous again. The Book of Enoch doesn't explicitly spell out the fate of those who aren't chosen, but it does emphasize the stark contrast between the destiny of the righteous and the wicked.
So we're left with this lingering question. Is salvation for everyone, or is it reserved for a select few? That's a heavy topic to ponder.
It is, and it's a question that theologians and philosophers have debated for centuries. But that's the beauty of these ancient texts. They don't offer easy answers. They grapple with the most profound questions about human existence and invite us to participate in those same debates, even thousands of years later.
Well, I'm definitely feeling the weight of those profound questions right now. But hey, maybe we can lighten things up a bit. We've talked a lot about the heavy stuff, sin, judgment, the afterlife. What about the angels? Besides being cosmic tour guides and, occasionally falling from grace, what's their deal?
Ah, the angels, always a crowd pleaser. And you're right, they play such a fascinating role in the Book of Enoch.
Yeah.
They're messengers, guides, guardians, even warriors. The text portrays them as powerful beings who exist in a realm beyond human comprehension.
Okay, so they're basically the ultimate multitaskers of the spiritual world. But are they all good? I mean, we've got those fallen angels, the watchers. Are there other bad angels lurking out there?
That's a great question, and it brings us to another intriguing aspect of the Book of Enoch's annuology, the concept of demons.
Demons. Like the scary spirits that haunt horror movies.
Well, not exactly. In the Book of Enoch, demons are closely linked to the fallen angels. In fact, they're often depicted as the spirits of those giants who were killed in the flood.
Wait, so the spirits of those monstrous giants become demons? That's a terrifying thought. So not only did they cause chaos during their lives, but their spirits stick around to keep the trouble going.
That's the picture the Book of Enoch paints. And it highlights this ancient belief that evil is this powerful force that can manifest in both the physical and the spiritual realms.
Okay, so we've got angels, fallen angels, demons, giants. It's a whole cast of characters. I'm starting to see why this book didn't make it into the Bible. It's a lot to process.
It is. But remember, these stories were intended to convey profound truths about good and evil, the consequences of sin, and the ultimate hope for redemption.
Redemption. Now, that's a good word to end on. But before we get carried away with hope and optimism, I got to ask, if demons are the spirits of dead giants, what about other humans? Do they come back as ghosts or spirits too?
Ah, now you're asking the million-dollar question.
I know, right?
And unfortunately, the Book of Enoch doesn't give us a clear answer. It focuses primarily on the fate of the fallen angels and their offspring, but it doesn't delve deeply into what happens to human souls in general.
So the afterlife for humans is still a bit of a mystery.
Seems that way.
Well, I guess that just adds to the intrigue of the Book of Enoch. It leaves us with something to ponder. Speaking of pondering, those heavenly tablets recording everything we do, That's a bit unsettling.
Yeah.
I mean, did people back then worry about privacy the way we do today?
That's a fascinating question. It makes you wonder if those ancient concerns about being judged by a higher power have evolved into our modern anxieties about data collection and surveillance. It seems like the desire for privacy and the fear of being watched is a constant throughout human history, even if the watchers have changed forms.
You know, that's such a good point. It's like the technology has changed, but the underlying worries haven't. But okay, maybe we can save that deep dive for another episode because we are running out of time.
Agreed. There's so much more to explore in the Book of Enoch.
We've only just scratched the surface of this ancient text. But you know what? I think we need to take a break here and let our listeners process everything we've uncovered so far.
I agree. It's a lot to take in.
All right, everyone, we'll be right back after a short break to delve deeper into chapters 21 through 41 of the Book of Enoch. Don't go anywhere.
It certainly is a lot to think about. But remember, we're focusing on chapters 21 through 41 today, and there's still so much ground to cover.
Right, let's get back to it. We were talking about those heavenly tablets that record every human deed. What I find fascinating is how the Book of Enoch presents this idea of divine judgment as like a direct response to humanity's actions, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's not arbitrary, it's a consequence of our choices.
Exactly. The text really emphasizes this cause and effect relationship between sin and judgment.
Right.
It's like a cosmic balancing act.
Okay?
When humanity tips the scales too far toward wickedness, divine intervention is necessary to kind of restore order.
So it's not just about punishment, it's about like course correction, a cosmic reset button.
That's a great way to put it. And this idea of a reset, it's really brought home in the flood narrative. Remember, the flood, it isn't just a random event.
Right.
It's a direct response to the sins of humanity, specifically the corruption brought about by the fallen angels and their giant offspring.
It's like the earth needed a good cleansing, a fresh start. But what about the people who were wiped out?
Right.
Were they all truly wicked? What about like those who might have been trying to live good lives?
That's a tough question, and the Book of Enoch doesn't shy away from the kind of the complexities of judgment. It doesn't give us a simple answer, and I think that ambiguity is intentional. It forces us to grapple with those moral dilemmas inherent in any system of divine justice.
You're right. It makes you really think about the criteria for judgment. Is it purely based on actions? Or is there like something more, something we can't fully comprehend?
Those are questions that have puzzled theologians for centuries. And while the Book of Enoch doesn't provide definitive answers, it does offer some clues. Remember that vision of a book containing the names of the righteous, the elect?
Oh yeah, that cosmic VIP list for the afterlife. Does that mean everyone else is out of luck?
The text is a bit unclear on that point. It doesn't explicitly state the fate of those not chosen, but it does repeatedly emphasize this stark contrast between the destiny of the righteous and the wicked.
Okay, so there's a definite hierarchy, a separation between the saved and the not so saved. But this whole idea of being chosen, it kind of makes me uneasy. What if you're a good person, but for whatever reason, your name isn't on the list? It doesn't seem very fair.
I understand your concern. The concept of preselection, it can be a bit unsettling. It raises questions about free will and whether our choices truly matter if our fate is already predetermined.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if those ancient anxieties about judgment and preselection might be reflected in our modern fears of algorithms and artificial intelligence making decisions for us.
Right.
Like, what if a computer program decides we're not worthy of a loan, a job, or even entry into a certain country? Kind of a chilling thought.
It is, and it highlights how these ancient themes of judgment and predestination, they still resonate with us today, even if the context has shifted.
That's so true. It's amazing how these ancient texts can still be relevant to our modern lives. Okay, so we've talked about sin, judgment, the afterlife.
Yes.
What about something a bit more uplifting? Enoch encounters some pretty amazing things on his journey, right? What else can you tell me about those visions?
Well, one of the most striking aspects of the Book of Enoch is its vivid imagery, especially when describing the natural world. Remember those chapters where Enoch explores the earth and learns about the secrets of nature?
Oh yeah, the angel-led tour of the universe. He gets a crash course in everything from the winds to the stars, right?
Exactly. And it's not just a dry scientific account.
Right.
Enoch's descriptions are filled with wonder and awe. For example, in chapter 33, he describes the winds as being divided and weighed, each with its own purpose and power. He sees the repositories where hail, fog, and clouds are stored, and he witnesses this intricate dance of the stars, each moving according to this precise celestial choreography.
It's like he's pulling back the curtain on the inner workings of creation, seeing the hand of God in every detail. It's almost poetic. the way he describes it.
It is, and you can really sense his insatiable curiosity. He's not just passively observing, he's actively seeking knowledge, asking questions, trying to understand the why behind everything he sees. And it's through this process of questioning that the angels reveal the secrets of the universe.
That's so cool. It's like he's participating in this grand cosmic learning experience,
Yes.
guided by these celestial beings. But I have to ask, some of these descriptions seem pretty out there. Like that whole thing about the sun having 12 portals or gates that it travels through. How did people back then make sense of that?
Well, it's important to remember that these ancient texts were often written in symbolic language, using imagery and allegory to convey deeper truths. Those 12 portals of the sun, for example, they represent the sun's annual journey across the sky. Enoch even provides names for the different gates and explains how the sun's movement through these gates, it determines the solstices and equinoxes.
So it's like an ancient version of an astronomical calendar that's actually pretty sophisticated. It makes you realize that even though their scientific understanding was different from ours, they were still incredibly observant and in tune with the rhythms of nature.
Absolutely. They observed the movements of the heavens and incorporated them into their understanding of time, seasons, and the cycles of life. It's a reminder that we're not so different from our ancestors.
Right.
We're all trying to make sense of the world around us, using the tools and knowledge available to us.
That's a really powerful thought, and it makes exploring these ancient texts even more meaningful, knowing that we're connecting with the minds and hearts of those who came before us. But okay, let's get back to the angels. We were talking about demons earlier, those malevolent spirits that roam the earth. What else does the Book of Enoch tell us about them?
Well, one of the most chilling aspects of the Book of Enoch is its depiction of demons as the spirits of those dead giants, still wreaking havoc from beyond the grave.
It's like they're twice as bad, causing trouble in life, and then continuing to torment humanity even after they're gone. What's their motivation? What are they trying to achieve?
The text suggests that they're driven by a desire to corrupt and destroy,
Uh-huh.
to tempt humanity toward evil. Remember, these demons are the offspring of fallen angels, so they inherit that rebellious nature, that opposition to God's will.
It's like a cosmic battle between good and evil is playing out on Earth, with humans caught in the crossfire.
Right.
But wait, if demons are the spirits of those dead giants, does that mean other humans come back as ghosts or spirits too?
That's a fascinating question, and unfortunately, the Book of Enoch doesn't provide a clear answer. It focuses primarily on the fate of the fallen angels and their offspring, but it doesn't delve deeply into the destiny of human souls in general.
So the afterlife for humans is still a bit of a mystery. I guess that's part of what keeps us coming back to these ancient texts, the unanswered questions, the enduring mysteries.
Exactly. They spark our curiosity, challenge our assumptions, and invite us to engage with these big questions about life, death, and the meaning of it all.
You know, speaking of big questions, we've talked a lot about the angels, the fallen angels, and the demons.
Yes.
But what about the ultimate big guy? What does the Book of Enoch tell us about God?
That's a crucial question, and it brings us to the heart of the text's theological message. The Book of Enoch presents God as a transcendent, all-powerful being who created the heavens and the earth and governs all things according to his divine will.
Okay, so he's the ultimate authority figure, the one in control. But how does he interact with humanity? Does he portray it as like a distant, unapproachable figure, or does he play a more personal role in human affairs?
That's a great question, and the answer is it's a bit nuanced.
Okay,
On the one hand, God is depicted as residing in this realm of heavenly glory that's beyond human comprehension. He's not someone you just pop in for a chat with.
I see.
But at the same time, he's shown to be deeply concerned with the affairs of humanity.
Okay.
He sends angels as messengers and intervenes in human history through acts of both judgment and mercy.
So it's like he's both distant and involved, transcendent and immanent.
Precisely. And that paradox is at the core of many religious traditions. It reflects the inherent mystery of the divine and the challenge of reconciling the vastness of the cosmos with the personal nature of faith.
It's a fascinating concept. But I'm realizing we haven't talked much about one of the key themes in chapters 21 through 41, the concept of a new heaven and a new earth. What can you tell me about that?
That's a great point. The promise of a new heaven and a new earth, it's central to the Book of Enoch's message of hope and renewal. It suggests that even in the face of sin, judgment, and corruption, there's the possibility for a fresh start, a world cleansed of evil and filled with righteousness.
It's like a cosmic do-over, a chance to get things right. But who gets to live in this new creation?
Right.
Is it just the chosen few, those whose names are written in the book?
That's one of the lingering questions the text leaves us with. It's not entirely clear who will inhabit this new heaven and new earth, but it does suggest that it will be a place of peace, harmony, and justice.
It's a beautiful vision, a hopeful glimpse into a future where things are, made right. But how does this new creation come about? Is it a gradual process or is it a sudden cataclysmic event?
The text doesn't provide specific details about the process, but it does imply that it will be a divine act, a manifestation of God's power and mercy.
It sounds like it's going to be quite a spectacle. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about sin, judgment, the afterlife, angels, demons, and even the possibility of a new heaven and a new earth. It's a lot to process.
It is, and this is just a glimpse into the richness and complexity of the Book of Enoch, particularly chapters 21 through 41.
What I find so amazing is that even though this text was written thousands of years ago, it still speaks to us today. Those anxieties about judgment, those hopes for redemptions, those questions about our place in the universe, they're as relevant now as they were then.
You're absolutely right, and that's the power of these ancient texts. They transcend time and culture, offering insights into the human condition that are as timeless as they are profound.
It's like looking into a mirror and seeing not just ourselves, but also the reflections of those who came before us,
Right.
all grappling with the same fundamental questions. But okay, I think it's time to wrap things up.
Agreed. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We've explored some pretty heavy topics, from the depths of Sheol to the heights of a new heaven and a new earth. And while the Book of Enoch doesn't provide all the answers, it certainly gives us plenty to ponder.
It does, and that's the beauty of exploring these ancient texts. They challenge us, inspire us, and leave us with a sense of wonder and a thirst for a deeper understanding.
Well said. I think we've given our listeners a lot to chew on. But hey, that's what the deep dive is all about, right? Exploring new ideas, challenging our assumptions, and expanding our understanding of the world around us.
Exactly. It's about taking a deep dive into the unknown and emerging with a fresh perspective and a renewed sense of curiosity.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm definitely feeling that sense of curiosity right now, and I'm sure our listeners are too. But unfortunately, we're out of time for today.
Yes, but our exploration of these ancient mysteries, it doesn't have to end here.
That's right. There's a whole world of ancient texts waiting to be discovered. So until next time, keep those minds curious and maybe check out the Book of Enoch yourself. You might be surprised by what you find. See you next time on the Deep Dive. I was just thinking about those descriptions of nature in the Book of Enoch.
Yeah.
It's like he's seeing the world through a completely different lens.
Yes, true.
Noticing all these details we might overlook.
He's not just observing nature, he's experiencing it
Right.
with this sense of awe and wonder. And what's fascinating is how he connects those observations to this idea of divine order, this grand design behind everything.
Right. Like that whole thing about the winds being stored in these celestial repositories
I know.
and released at God's command.
It's a very different way of understanding weather patterns.
It is.
And it highlights how, people in ancient times saw the hand of a higher power at work
Right?
in the natural world. It wasn't just random chance or scientific forces.
Right.
It was a manifestation of God's will.
But okay, let's be real for a second.
Okay.
Some of these descriptions, like those 12 portals for the sun,
Right.
they could seem pretty out there
Yeah.
to a modern audience.
Sure.
So how do we reconcile those ideas with our current understanding of, science?
That's where it gets really interesting. Remember these texts, they were often written in symbolic language,
Okay.
using imagery and allegory to convey deeper truths. So those 12 portals,
Yeah.
they likely represent the sun's annual journey across the sky, its movement through the constellations.
So it's like an ancient form of astronomy,
Exactly.
expressed through symbolism and metaphor.
And even though their scientific understanding was different from ours, they were incredibly observant. They tracked the movements of the sun, the moon, the stars, and they used those observations to create calendars, to mark the passing of time, to understand the cycles of nature.
It makes you realize that even though we have all this advanced technology today, we've kind of lost some of that deep connection to the natural world
Yeah.
that our ancestors had.
That's a really insightful observation. We might have telescopes and satellites now, but there's something to be said for that direct experience of nature, for understanding its rhythms and cycles.
You know what? It makes me wonder if rediscovering some of that ancient wisdom could help us better appreciate our place in the universe. It's like maybe we need to reconnect with the awe and wonder that Enoch felt
Yeah,
when he looked up at the stars,
I think you're onto something there. Maybe we need to step outside our modern bubbles
right?
and rediscover that sense of interconnectedness,
Right.
that understanding that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Well said. It's like that old saying, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
Maybe we need to look to the past to find the answers to some of our present-day dilemmas.
I couldn't agree more. There's so much wisdom to be gleaned
Yeah,
from these ancient texts, so much that's still relevant to our lives today.
and the Book of Enoch is a perfect example of that.
Definitely.
It's packed with these insights into human nature, our relationship with the divine, and these enduring questions about life, death, and our place in the cosmos.
It's a text that challenges us, it inspires us,
Mm-hmm.
and it leaves us with this sense of wonder and possibility.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the Book of Enoch.
Yes, I believe we've done justice to these fascinating chapters.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the fiery depths of Sheol to the luminous fights of a new heaven and new earth. We've explored the mysteries of angels and demons, grappled with questions of judgment and redemption, and rediscovered the wonder of the natural world through ancient eyes.
It's been a journal filled with insights and revelations, and I hope our listeners have found it as enlightening as we have.
I'm sure they have. And remember, this is just a small taste of what the Book of Enoch has to offer. There's so many more layers to uncover, so many more mysteries to explore.
That's right, and who knows what other treasures we might find hidden within its pages.
So to all our deep divers out there, we encourage you to keep those minds curious, to never stop exploring, and to maybe even take a deep dive into the Book of Enoch yourself. You might be surprised by what you find.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries that surround it.
From all of us here at the Deep Dive, thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.